The side kitchen door has always been the typical entrance to 707 Walker Avenue. The kitchen was remodeled in 1988. Behind the main cabinets, an Amy Joy cup was found from about 1977, when Donald Benfer had moved back in with his new family. Many jams and jellies and pies and preserves have been made in this kitchen. All fresh fruit from the Benfer orchard. This is a little tiny powder room that was added to the kitchen in the 1988 remodel. Just the tiniest little powder room. I mean, you know, you gotta think sideways to get in here. But you know, it did its job, and it has the tiniest little corner sink. You can barely get your hands under that counter, under that sink faucet. But you know, you manage to wash your hands, and got a little medicine cabinet. And always had, used in the winter, we had this fan, but in the winter we had to keep a little tiny portable heater in here, a little electric heater. We plug it in there, because that fan, as you see in the mirror, that fan, it didn't offer much insulation. This wood-burning stove was installed around 1979, a few years after Donald Benfer and his young family had moved in. Of course, the Benfers always ate at the dinner table or sometimes in the kitchen. But when Wilbur Benfer and his family lived here, there were about 8 people who ate at this dinner table. Doesn't seem to matter what generation of the Benfers has lived here. There's always been grandchildren's toys in the living room. Hey Abby, who lives in this house?
You want to get down?
Mimi does.
And who?
Papa does. Mickey. Come on.
This is one of 2 bedrooms facing Walker Avenue. Its occupants have included Nini Benfer, as I affectionately knew her as, or Florence Hunt Benfer. And then it was a guest room for a while. And then Amy King lived here for a while. And then it was a guest room again. The other bedroom that faces Walker Avenue, it has had many occupants too. First it started out with Papa Benfer, or Wilbur Benfer. And then my father, Donald Benfer. And then my brother, when we moved back in the 70s, Keith Benfer. And then myself, Eric Benfer. And then Amy King. And then we had all moved out and it became a guest room again. The master bedroom, its occupants have been Wilbur Benfer, all 3 of the Benfer boys, Dickie, Davy, and Donnie. And then in the 70s, it became the master bedroom again, and my parents, Carolyn and Donald Benfer. The other southern-facing bedroom, Aunt Bessie, Cousin Vernon's mother, slept here. Then it was a guest room for a while. And then I slept here, Eric Benfer, for a few years. And then it became a computer room. I was always intrigued that there was a sink in this room. I thought that, you know, quite odd. And the other cool thing was it had a little shorty closet, just a half closet. Mostly because there's another stairway behind it. Let's see if I can open it. Just a little short closet. Kind of dank and dreary right now. But I used to keep my toys in there. This is the stairway I was referring to. It's kind of narrow, just a little narrow stairway to get down into the kitchen. I always thought this was neat, kind of like a secret stairway. There's a little stained glass window that looks out the back. Let's see if we can get down here. You gotta be really skinny to get down these stairs. Yeah, this little window just kind of looks out the back. I used to sit down here and just kind of daydream, think about things. And then right now it's just more of a closet than anything else. And right down there, through those louvered doors, is the kitchen. Now this might look like a regular old dented and cracked wall. This is, you know, in the wall that's in the back stairway, so nobody ever really sees this. But here's something amazing about this wall. This is not drywall. This is actual plaster. And you can see in there, see if I can light it up back there, but back in there, you can see the boards for the plaster. You know, it's kind of hard to see, but yeah, there's some boards back there for the backing boards for the plaster. But that's actual plaster of Paris, not drywall. And of course, my mother would have a heart attack if she knew I was showing this. But this is the bottom half of the little back stairway, you know, that I was talking about earlier. And there's the, you know, there's the stained glass window that's just on the side of the house. You know, I'd sit there and just kind of think about things when I was little. And here's the bathroom. It's been remodeled a couple times. I think when I moved in here, or in 1977, 76, there was an old clawfoot bathtub. I remember that Nene and Pop-Up had. It was kind of over here on this side, and you know, now they've got a regular sink and a tub, and that was remodeled in when we first moved in 1977-ish. And then it was remodeled again, just kind of a, you know, new wallpaper and stuff like that. And then they put up the shower doors there, I don't know, a couple of years ago. So this little newel post, or the bottom end of a newel post, when I was little, I don't know, I've discovered you could take this thing off, and you know, you just hide little things. It was like my little secret stash. You know, just innocent little things, putting little G.I. Joes up there, and, you know, saying they were hiding for a mission, things like that. And just, you know, it was just cool. You could just hide stuff in there. It was fun. And there's the stairs to the third floor. A lot of people lived up there. And we're on the third floor. This is one of the northern-facing bedrooms, faces Walker Avenue. And this one was never really used as a bedroom. It's always been, you know, like every house has, either stuff in the attic or stuff in a storage room. I think this room doesn't even have, I don't even think this room has a radiator in it, so it would get cold up here. This door was always closed, I remember. And here's a little more that plaster of Paris I was talking about. You know, it just, when you're 115 years old, sometimes things cave in. But yeah, this is, you know, one of the little tiny rooms. Well, not tiny, but one of the smaller rooms with all the stuff in it. This is the other northern-facing bedroom on the third floor, facing Walker Avenue. In World War II, the third floor was rented out to the Betts family, and this was their, you know, their living room per se. Nobody's used this as a bedroom, really. It was a meeting room for scouts, as my father tells me, and it was my father's office when he was in the National Guard and the Reserves, and he had all his Army gear up here. And then, of course, right now it's a train room. It never really got completed. That was Dad's retirement project, but he had lots of other projects going on too, and hopefully one day, Abby, my daughter, and Charlotte, my daughter, will be able to see Pop with a working train set. And he's got quite a big table set out here. Might have to go a little bit smaller, but he'll get something that works. And of course, this one has a radiator, or as they said, a radiator. And then here's one of the other bedrooms, southern facing bedroom. This is one above the master bedroom on the second floor. This has had many occupants. The Betts family during World War II. And then Uncle David and Cousin Vernon slept here. And my brother remodeled this bedroom and moved up here in the 80s when he was in late high school and college. And then I moved up here again. I remember putting this carpet in and painting the walls again. And then that was the last resident of this room. There's my old stoplight. I'll have to get that and take that home today. But yeah, lots of residents in this room. Still have some posters of mine up there. A Formula One racing poster and a Genesis poster. Here's something interesting. This bed was in the guest room downstairs on the second floor for a long time. But this was Nene Ramsey's bed when she was a little girl. And then when we lived on Victoria Avenue, over near Pikesville, this was my bed for a few years, I guess for about 3 or 4 years. And then this moved into the guest room, and it was, the guest room bed. It was quite a saggy sleep, though. So this room was a kitchen for the Betts family. Now those cabinets are not the original cabinets for the Betts kitchen. It was a kitchen for them for a while, and then either Uncle Dick or Uncle David actually had a darkroom in here for a while. And then, of course, for years and years it wasn't really used for much more storage or anything like that. And then we moved in the late 70s, 76, 77, and it became a playroom for Keith and I. We had all kinds of toys up in here. I remember playing with Hot Wheels cars. And then in college, I had turned this into a darkroom. And those are actually the cabinets from the kitchen when it was remodeled in 1988. So I had a pretty nice darkroom in here. I even put up some trim around the windows. You can see it's kind of dark colored, matte gray finish. Put some trim up, and then I could put plywood in the windows to keep the light out. And I did the same thing over here, except I didn't block the lower half because I had an air conditioner in there, because it got hot up here. Let me tell you, during the summer, boy oh boy. I wanted to have some airflow as well. And then of course we had the sink and everything like that. And again, those were moved up here from when we remodeled the kitchen, and now it's more of a storage room than anything else. And here's a little bathroom up on the 3rd floor. And bathtub. A little storage rack there. This was my first darkroom when I guess back in middle school. I guess around 1983, I got interested in photography and made a darkroom up here. And I had a piece of plywood over top of the bathtub, and I would keep all my chemicals and stuff sitting up there, and then I would come over here and rinse out the paper when it was done. That's just another cool thing about this house. Just lots of interesting little things about this house. There's like a window right here. See? It's framed out. This is a window that just goes over to the room on the other side. And I don't know why there's a window going over to a bathroom, but there is. It's just another window, and it goes over to the other room that eventually became my bigger dark room. So I guess around 88, 89, or maybe a little earlier than that, before Keith moved up here, or when Keith moved up here, he did a lot of remodeling. And this is the brick fireplace, the brick chimney that comes up from the fireplaces. It was all the way up to the top. And Keith, put some sort of stucco or something around it, made it look kind of nice. And he did all the trim work around the doors, and just redid the whole thing. I remember when he was doing this, the wall between this bedroom and what eventually became my dark room, he had taken all the plaster down, because it was all plaster, and this is all drywall now. Taken all the plaster down, it was just the studs up. I remember, walking back and forth between the two rooms. I thought that was pretty cool. And then, of course, probably not only in the Benford household, but, only in a household where you had a master sergeant. Some M16 clips, nothing in them, just, empty M16 clips from when my dad was in the National Guard and Reserves. I guess some supply sergeant is still looking for these guys. I don't know. And then some muzzle suppressor. I think you put this on the end of your M16 or AR-15 or whatever that my dad was shooting. I don't know, when you're firing blocks or something. So this stairway goes back down to the second floor. And when I lived up here in the third floor for college, I would have to come up and down these stairways every time I wanted to get to my room. And also, of course, the stairways from the second floor to the first floor. So 2 flights of stairs to get up to my room. And I was always going up and down and up and down. I'd always forget something to take to school, and Amy was always complaining because she was always asleep. Amy was always asleep. And because I had class before she did. And I would have to trod down the stairs, and I'd forget something. I'd trod back up the stairs, and Amy would complain, "Eric, stop going up and down the stairs and stop whistling." And this is the stairways down into the cellar. It's not a basement, it is a cellar, and you'll see why as we go on. And a nice treacherous stairway here. And again, just some of the interesting things, just some glass panes here. I don't know why there's a window here, but there's just a window here. And another cool little thing, right there, just doesn't quite meet up there, with the foundation. It's just there. I don't know why. It's just a hole there. When we used to, when we take the honey from the bees when I was little, I used to sit here and watch them taking the honey from the bees, and I was glad they had a window here because I could watch and not get stung by bees and things. But I always had this little fear that all the bees are going to come out from that hole, and sometimes I would put something in that hole, just to make sure bees didn't come and get me. But they never did. They never came out that hole. But it was fun to watch the honey spinning in the big barrel right there. So here's the cellar to 707 Walker Avenue. Not really dank and dreary, but it's not a basement, it's a cellar. It's got a cement floor, and got cement walls and everything like that. The floor is, it's really hard to see with a video camera, but the floor is in pretty good condition. Certainly wasn't like that. Keith, my brother, and his friend, I remember Kevin Kreller, who's passed away now, but Keith and Kevin redid all the cement on this floor. This floor was just the cement was all broken up. There's, in some areas it went down to the dirt, but they came and they redid the entire floor and made it look really, really nice. The white coating on the walls is waterproofing, and my dad has had this waterproofed because it used to flood a little bit. I'll see if I can show you there's a French drain all the way around the edge. I'll get a better picture of that. But right in this area where these glass blocks are, this used to be right in here, right up to about the green doors there was a coal shed here. And there were some walls right along here, and kind of coming down to about here. It was a coal shed, and that coal shed was there even when I was little. And I remember there were, I think they were carved in or burned in or something like that, the initials DB, DB, DB. So 3 DBs. And of course, Donald Benfer, Dick Benfer, and David Benfer all lived here when they were little. So nobody knows who put in the DB, DB, DB. Whether it was all 3 of them, or just one of them putting it in 3 times. That's a mystery that will live on forever with this house. But that's where they used to deliver the coal for this house. And behind me is the water heater and the oil furnace. But, you know, back here, is it back here or is it on the other side? And one of these sides, I think it might be back here. There was a hole for the chimney that went to the chimney because this. Oh, here it is, right there. There we go, and it's kind of hard to see. But right there is a hole where the coal furnace. I guess the coal furnace was right around here. The hole for the coal furnace went up to the chimney, and so this house was heated by coal for quite a while, I imagine. And this is all my dad's tools. He's got quite a collection of tools. I think when they move, he's gonna try to keep most of them and put them all out in the big shed, the shed next to the garage, which is outside, which you saw in the earlier footage. But all kinds of tools. I mean, every tool you can imagine. Hand tools, power tools, everything. And all kinds of projects in various states of completion. He's he's got his woodworking, his hand woodworking bench there from a class he took with John Alexander. But this is also, I guess the most important part about this, this is where the honey magic happens. When we bring, every summer we collect the bee frames from the bees and we bring it down here into the basement. We bring it through those doors over there. They go to the outside. And we bring the frames, hopefully sans bees, but a lot of times there's bees in the frames, and we take the frames and we cut open the cells with a electric knife, a hot electric knife, and then we take the frames and we put them in a big centrifuge, and then we spin it, and then that's how we get the honey. But this is where you stand. You stand right here at this table, and you slice off all the cells to get to the honey. And there's always bees buzzing around the fluorescent lights, and there's always one of us with the tube from the shop vac sucking up the bees. And oh my gosh, so many people have helped over the years doing it. I was most impressed with Robin, my wife, one year when she was just down here, just cutting open the cells, and just hundreds of bees just buzzing around, not trying to get her, not trying to get anything, just buzzing around the light, just buzzing right around her head, and she wasn't batting an eye. I was very impressed with her. There's another window with some glass cells in it. Those just used to be regular windows. I guess they put those cells in a few years, but again, just some really funny things around about 707 Walker Avenue. There's a toilet down here, just sitting out in the open. I don't ever remember it working, but there's just a toilet down here, and here's that French drain which goes all the way around the perimeter in case it floods, and I guess that's where the water can drain out to the outside via the sump pump. And here's the doors to the outside of the basement. A little cement stairway, a little drain at the bottom. and some, metal doors on the outside. It used to be wooden when I was here, but they put in some metal doors. And just comes out to the side of the house. And you can see right down into the yard where the orchard is. And of course there are some of the beehives. So here's KB and DS and KB and DG. And one of them is Keith Benfer, and the other one is Klaus Bienert, who was Keith's friend in high school and still his friend. But I can't remember who DS and DG are. I remember them, but I don't remember their names. So we'll have to ask Keith about that a little later. And this deck was constructed in, I believe, the summer of 1984, and it was constructed by Keith and my father and I. And Keith designed it. Nice little cantilevered deck here. Our first deck that we constructed. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 posts, stairways. I did both sides of both stairways. And lots of joists going out. Pretty big deck. And Keith designed it and then promptly left for Army summer camp for basic training. Convenient of him. Well, my dad and I did a lot of the work on it and got it all completed. And it's even got this nice little accident of a little extra added bit as we were laying the joists out. Of course, I think they're 12-foot joists. They go out. And then, of course, these stuck out a little further because we have, a bay window here. It was a bay window at the time. Now it's French. Now it's French doors. But they stuck out a little bit, and we thought, oh, that's nice, a little extra added bit. Of course, we weren't sure if it was going to stand up, but it worked, And it's been here for several years now. Boy, 20 plus years now, actually. That's something. So I did the steps on the other side, and of course I did the steps on this side here. And nobody's broken their necks yet, and it seems to have stood up to the test of time. We've always joked that the deck was built so strong it would last longer than the house. Well, that is yet to be seen, but who knows. So, any memories that you wanted to discuss?
No, just good times, long nights. A lot of good times here. Living on the 3rd floor was nice. Got mom and dad angry because I was always talking on the phone late night.
Well, you redid most of the 3rd floor, didn't you?
Yes.
And it was all plaster stuff up there, wasn't it? You tore down a lot of it?
Yes, I did. Repainted, put new trim up, fixed some holes in it.
Some holes. I remember entire walls coming down.
I don't think we did entire walls. But
didn't the wall between the 2 bedrooms up there, or your bedroom and my darkroom, didn't that come down?
No.
I remember there not being a wall there. I mean, there were studs, but I remember. Okay, I thought that
when we first moved in, they were remodeling.
No, I remember you and Kevin tearing all the plaster down up there and doing it. Okay.
When mom and dad got remodeled, they pulled all the plaster down. But no, Kevin and I did not do anything like that.
Okay.
Nothing like that.
Well, what about the deck?
The deck was built. I designed the deck, and most of the construction got done while I was away for 2 weeks of summer camp. I came back and turned out pretty well. It's still standing, so I'm happy. 20 years later, you realize that deck was built about 20 years ago? No, but sounds right.
Yeah, I think that was 85 because you went to summer camp in 84 or 85, something like that. You graduated high school in 84, so you went summer of 84 to boot camp.
I went 86. I tried doing 1 year of college, and that didn't work out too well.
All right, so it's almost 20 years old.
Right.
It'll probably last to the 20th year.
Yeah, hopefully they don't tear it down when we remodel the house. I'm not sure what they're gonna do with the house, but
House is staying up, I hear.
we'll see what happens.
Who knows? And you don't have anything to say about any initials on the back of a beech tree?
Nope.
I guess not. I mean, there's KB and KB, and who are the KBs at least?
No comment. I don't know what you're talking about.
So, needless to say, the house has not always been covered in vinyl siding. You know, it's 115 years old, so they didn't exactly have vinyl when they started off. It used to be covered in brown shingles. So it was a brown house originally, not a beige house like it is now. I'll have to see if I can dig up a picture of it when it was covered in brown shingles. It actually looked very nice. It's got the original slate roof. Had a few slates replaced a couple of years ago. Talked to a couple of roofing guys, and my dad said, and he said, you know, a couple of them said, "Oh, get rid of that slate and replace it with asphalt, and it'll cost you $20 billion to replace the slate." Well, they found a slate guy who did it for, oh, I don't know, a couple bucks a shingle, and they only needed a few shingles replaced. And so the slate roof is still there. I have been up on the roof repairing, well, you can't really see it, but repairing with tar, the creases up on top of this alcove here, the eaves. I had to get up there and climbed out the window. Had a rope, had a safety rope going on the other side. Climbed out the window and with a bucket of tar, and we, you know, retarred where the metal flashing met with the shingles. So this is the side yard. Of course, one of the biggest areas to mow when I was young. But we played football here, and soccer, and croquet, and threw the baseball around a little bit, and frisbee, and all kinds of stuff. It was nice having a big side yard like this, except when we had to mow it. So Amy, what brought you to 707 Walker Avenue?
Well, I am the town drunk. I just wandered in and they kept giving me beer. I didn't leave. No, what brought me here was your mother. Yes, Eric's behind the camera. I was a high school student at Morgenthaler, and Mrs. Binfer was my high school senior English teacher. And I was living on my own for my senior year. And I needed a place to go. It was either keep working at the NSA and keep my apartment, or live with you guys and go to college. And very generously, she took me in, and you guys did too. And here I am. How many years later? 15 years later. Yeah, I graduated in 90.
Yeah.
I moved in 90. 15 years later, they couldn't get rid of me. Kind of like you shake your leg and trying to get the dog off.
Doggy.
Still clinging.
And any good memories about the house, or just living here, or?
I love this house. I'm so sad I think it's a great transition. I think that the new house is beautiful and a good neighborhood, but the house is like a real part of the Benfer family, I think. You guys, I know about a lot of memories from before I was here, from you guys telling me stories. I've seen a lot of pictures, and then living here, you and I have had some funny experiences when, for instance, every time a bat got in, we had a couple of times where we're walking through with sheets trying to scare the bat out, wearing helmets. Apparently this is a phenomena that's recurring. Keith has got stories of carrying a lacrosse stick and wearing a lacrosse helmet in his underwear, running through trying to get the bats out. So there's always the bats, they keep coming back. Lots of backyard parties. It's great to have such a big space. It makes me sad that they're going to be building houses back there, because the space will be more limited. I think that's a part of the house is, having the fruit grove and the bees and just room to have people over. And you guys put the deck on. I was here for that, which is like a feature of the Binfer family, that all the men came along and put the deck on the house, and then we sat out there and had parties.
And you know, with houses so close, we wouldn't have been able to have burping contests.
No, and Eric and I every morning had burping contests, and every evening. Oh no, not every morning, because every morning you left before me to go to UMBC, yes. And I was still trying to sleep, and you would not freaking stop whistling in the showers. In the shower every morning. Eric, stop whistling! Sorry! 5 seconds later, I can't even whistle like you do.
And how many times would I go up and down the stairs?
You could not remember everything in one trip. That was just not happening. You had to have about 2 more trips on average, sometimes 3, but generally you had to come back at least once or twice for whatever you forgot. And then there was the phenomena of when I went through my women's studies period classes. Remember, I didn't shave for a while. That was always common dinner commentary running on that. I had hairy legs and hairy armpits, and Eric tried to beat that out of me, but it didn't work. And then what else? God, we had some fun times. We really did. I think it's not the end of an era. It's just the end of an era, not the end of everything. Now there's a new Benfer generation coming up, and I'm tormenting them as much as possible too.
Teaching them lovely songs.
Teaching them lovely songs, those little girls, they're great. And now you'll have all of this documentation to show them of them growing up on a little bit on the Benfer plantation.
Walker Manor.
Walker Manor, as it were. And I still think there's a ghost on the 3rd floor. Did you ever think that?
The basement used to spook me out.
Really?
I used to torment myself. I would go down there when it was dark, and I wouldn't turn on lights, and I would walk down there to get something, and I think I purposely did it, and I would just like get my heart racing and run back up real quick. The 3rd floor never spooked me out. It was always the basement.
Yeah. Well, you were on the 3rd floor for a while.
I was on the 3rd floor.
When I moved into the guest room. You were in the front room, and Keith was upstairs. Then Keith finally moved out. You went upstairs, and I moved into the bigger room.
Yep.
And now, no more.
Now you're
the last week of it.
New York City.
Yeah, now I'm in New York. I keep coming back.
Some strange reason.
Some strange reason.
She hasn't gotten the hint yet.
It's my family. The house and the family. It's my place. They say you keep coming home, so I do.
This is the garden, or the section of the yard we refer to as the garden, because there are 2 gardens here. We had a few fruit trees here, still do. And on the other side, there's one more section of grass on the other side. A lot of times we had a horseshoe set up right around here. So we'd throw horseshoes here. And we always had a peach tree, and I think we had at one point, I think this is some sort of apple tree. It had Granny Smith apples or some sort of sour apple. They're really good though. On the 3rd part of the yard is the orchard. And of course it's known as the orchard because this is where we had all the fruit trees. And not as many fruit trees as we've had in the past. But here are some of the very, very original trees that Wilbur Benfer planted here. My dad was saying this one was one of the very, very first trees. It's an apple tree. That he planted. But when we'd be mowing it was great. You know, you'd be mowing and you could just reach up and grab an apple or whatever. I think we had another row right along here of trees. It's kind of hard to mow with all the trees in the way, but I always thought the orchard and the garden were the two toughest parts to mow. So I know you have many fond memories at 707 Walker Avenue, but would you like to talk about a few of them?
Some of the memories I have are, prom night is definitely a memory. Eric and I coming in and being a little bit wasted, I won't go into that, but falling asleep on the living room floor and having Keith come down and say, "It's time to deliver papers, Eric." And of course, that was lovely. I'll say a couple things, but I won't go into things. Let's just say the dark room. Let's just say the orchard. Just, you know, and then just falling in love with Eric. So what could be better than that? And just coming here for the first time and meeting Eric's parents was a little scary, because my parents lived in such a small house, and coming here I was like, whoa, you know, meeting his parents, and that's about it.
What do you think Abby and Charlotte are going to remember about this house?
I don't know, I think they'll have happy memories of all the different things that we've done here, you know, coming to pick fruit in the orchard, and just, you know, lots of fun barbecues and stuff. Huh? Oh, that's nice.
Let's go show Nini.
Finding leaves, I see.
Come on, let's go show Nini.
One of my memories of you is carving the wax caps off from the bees.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. And the first time doing that with the bees flying over my head and kind of thinking, what did I get myself into? But that was always fun. So, and I felt useful, like I was doing something.
About 100 bees buzzing around your head, and you were just standing there, not batting an eyebrow. You know, it's just not batting an eyelash, just carving away. I guess you were doing that to keep from thinking about it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they would get very, very close, and I would just look around like, oh my gosh, but it was fun. It was just something different and new. So that was a lot of fun, and then having friends come over and, you know, help us with it, that was always fun. Like when, you know, Dave came up and, you know, helped us, and it was just fun. So anyway, okay, bye-bye.
And then this is the side yard, or the yard around the house. And that included the front of the house. This is the other area to mow. So there were 4 areas of the yard: around the house, the side yard, the garden, and the orchard. And my brother and I we came up with all kinds of ways to figure out who was going to mow what, and everything from drawing lots to him trying to beat the tar out of me. But there's my 2 kids, Charlotte and Abby, swinging with Gammy, Robin's mom. And this is the garage. Pretty big for just a garage for tools and lawnmowers and stuff. So this is the John Deere tractor that my dad bought once Keith and I had moved out. There was a riding mower before that, and it was an old wheel horse, a red wheel horse tractor that is not here, and I'm sad that it's not. Would have liked to put that on the video. But there, all kinds of stuff in here. All kinds of blowers and vacuums and shredders and cutters and, oh my gosh, all kinds of stuff. All kinds of gas cans. We've got a 50-gallon drum, and this drum used to have kerosene in it. It might still have some kerosene, who knows. But we used to have a kerosene stove, and we still do. and we'd always get these blue containers filled up at the gas station and bring them home. And one day, I don't know how I thought of this, but I called Carroll Independent Fuel Company, which is where we got our oil from, and asked them if they delivered kerosene. They said, well, we sure do. You just have to have a 50-gallon drum. I said, well, what do we have to do about getting a 50-gallon drum? He said, oh, it's like a $10 deposit. Well, heck, so we got to put a $10 deposit down on the 50-gallon drum, and it was a different pump at that time. It wasn't a circular pump like that. It was another hand pump. And they would deliver it for free, and then the price was pretty good. But I remember I thought of the idea of getting the 50-gallon drum, and I was pretty proud of myself. And I think I did it and told my dad about it after the fact, and he said, well, that was a good idea. Or he screamed at me or something. But this is a pretty big garage. It's got an upstairs, and all kinds of stuff used to be up there. We used to have bikes and stuff up there, and had a ladder to get up there, and then in that loft, and then there was another loft over here, which was very treacherous, so we never went over here. There's a funny story. There used to just be drywall at the bottom here, and at one point, some raccoons had gotten up there and used it as a bathroom right there. And one day the drywall fell down and fell on my dad, so he was covered in raccoon droppings. But it had all these windows, and several of the windows were replaced from the infamous apple battle that Mark Greenhouse, Steve Dans, and I had one year when we broke out a lot of the windows with apples from inside, and well, that was fun. But a lot of miles on this mower, and even more miles on the old wheel horse mower.
So Eric, how's it feel to be here on the last week of ownership of the Benfer house? Anything come back to mind?
Oh, lots of stuff. I'm really sad to see it going. I'm not heartbroken because it's a very, very old house, but there's lots of memories. And there are lots of memories from the previous families that lived here. But
you grew up here, right?
I grew up here. Moved here when I was 6. Moved into first grade. Moved here 2 days before school started. Went to Stone to school. My mom tells me I came home the first day and I was all mad because they hadn't taught me to read yet. I was very disappointed they hadn't taught me to read yet. Used to climb this tree, and my mom used to say she used to deal with it by not watching me climb it. Just lots of. I think I've slept in 3 different rooms here.
Yeah.
Slept in what is the computer room now. Then there's the room at the top of the stairs. That's where Keith slept in originally, and then Keith redid the 3rd floor, and I moved up there after he moved out. There's Sandy. Lots of dogs here throughout the years. We had
cats too.
Dogs and cats. We had Toby.
What are you taking a picture of?
There's my little girl. Come here, Abby.
Go sit with your dad.
Abby,
I'm picturing you.
Why is that Amy taking a picture of?
Amy's taking a picture of me. She's asking me about the house. This is the house that I grew up in. And we had lots of dogs here. When we moved in a year or 2 after we moved in, we had Toby. And then Toby died, and we got two more beagles, Toby and Bandit. And we had them for years. And Bandit died one day. And
Daddy,
Toby.
why did the bandit die?
Bandit was the puppy dog. And sometimes if the dogs die, they go away. But Toby was still alive. Toby stayed around for a long time. Amy remembers Toby.
Yeah. No, I came when Cleo was here. Cleo was here.
Okay.
I don't remember Toby.
Oh. So Amy, Toby was here, and then he finally went away. And Keith came home one day. My mom said he had a sheepish grin on his face. And she's like, "Well, what have you done?" And he'd gotten Cleo, and Cleo was a golden retriever and collie mix, and she had this dirty little face, a little ugly, dirty face, and cute little puppy dog, but a very dirty, ugly face. And she grew up, and she was very pretty, and she was around for several years. And
She had the run of the town.
yeah, she died a couple years ago, and then Sammy back there is hunting around now. And she's the new Benford dog. She's still a bit of a puppy though.
And what about, tell us a little bit about, you know, the extension of the house. Remember many mornings having to get up and do yard work and...
Oh my gosh, well, we sit on about almost an acre and a half. So, you know, weekends and during the summer, there's lots and lots of grass to mow. Now, we had a riding mower, and I have a picture of me, I think 7 or 8 years old, on the riding mower mowing. You know, they didn't care about safety back then. Like,
Nor did they care about sleeping in.
no. And we would wake up early and do yard work. And
Why didn't you not bring a coat?
why didn't we bring a coat in the summertime? We would be doing yard work. I'd pick up sticks or mow the lawn or mow around trees, all kinds of stuff. We had 4 sections of the yard. We had around the house. We had this.
Daddy, I'm talking to Aunt Amy.
Okay, I'm talking to Aunt Amy. We had around the house. We had the side yard, which is back over my shoulder. We had the orchard, and we had the garden, and they were all just, you know, big areas. I always thought you're gonna sit on my lap right now. I always thought the 2 worst places were the orchard and the garden
I want to stand on the soda.
because they had the most trees and
Yeah.
to go around.
Yeah.
Oh, Abby's doing a trick. And now Abby, you know, is my parents' first grandchild,
Uh-huh.
and she's had the run of the house for the last 4 years because she's a big 4-year-old now.
Lots of room to run around here.
Yeah, lots of room to run around.
Now, Keith played lacrosse. Did you play any sports here?
Keith played lacrosse. I wrestled and ran cross country, and of course we skied.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lot of fun doing that stuff.
You guys practiced in the yard, and I remember seeing lots of like the kayak and then the bow and arrow set, the archery set. Different things would come and go in the yard. The motorcycle.
Oh yeah, well we had the motorcycle.
Mommy,
Well, the motorcycle started out. The motorcycle started out as a moped. Keith,
Kabomi.
hold on.
That's right. You actually tried to get that thing going for me.
Keith had a moped, an orange moped,
Kabomi.
and then when you came to live here, Amy, we tried getting the moped working for you, but it never really worked.
Yeah.
And you bought a moped, so we would ride that around the yard,
Yeah, that's right.
do motocross with that, and then I bought a Kawasaki KX80, a motocross motorcycle.
A little bit of a step up.
And that was fast.
Yeah.
And we would ride that around here. We'd ride around the trails and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fun to ride it around here, torment the neighbors.
And you guys went both to Towson High, right?
Keith and I both went to Towson High School, and of course my dad went to Towson High School.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he did.
Both my uncles went to Poly
Mm-hmm.
because the time in between when Uncle Dick graduated and Dad.
Who's Uncle Dick, Daddy?
Uncle Dick lives down in Virginia. Remember, you remember Uncle Dick? He lives down in Virginia. You know whose Pop he is?
I never when we got it on the deck.
Yeah, he is Jackson and Davis's Pop. So Uncle Dick used to live.
You remember them?
He was when he was little. So anyway, before when he didn't die. When Uncle Dick graduated from Poly, they changed the border between Baltimore City and Baltimore County.
Mm-hmm.
And so because they changed that border, my father went to a county high school.
Yeah.
And he went to Towson High School.
Yeah.
And we all 3 of us, my dad.
He was living here, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad.
I don't want to sit.
My dad. You are just a whippersnapper. My dad, Keith, and myself all had the same gym teacher,
Yeah.
Coach Walker.
Yeah. That's so funny. So, I know this is a hard question because it encompasses so many years, but what's like a couple of your fondest memories in the house that took place in or around the house? And it can be, it doesn't have to be, oh, we had this great birthday party. It can be, when you first had your first epiphany in reading or whatever. It just had to, something that took place in the house or around the house.
Well, one of my fondest memories is right here above me, the tree, just climbing this tree.
Mm-hmm.
I loved doing that.
Beautiful old tree.
Yep. I loved the dark room.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. You had the dark room.
I had 2 dark rooms here.
Yeah.
I loved doing all the dark room work.
The one I remember was set up with so many photographs and such good equipment and stuff for back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved building the deck. That was great.
Yeah.
As much as I complained about it, I loved growing up on this yard with the trees and the bees and everything, and and I loved.
Yeah, I could see your appreciation of pulling the honey when you guys would do it.
Daddy, let's show Abby the horse ride.
I will show her the horsey ride just a minute. I loved having Abby come here for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that Robin and I spent the night here. The night before Charlotte was born.
Mm-hmm.
We spent the night here and got up early and drove over
Yeah.
to GBMC.
What's a GBNC?
That's the hospital you were born at.
Did I cry with you, Daddy?
Did you cry when you were a little baby? Yes, you cried when you were a little baby. Mommy.
Because I love Mommy.
That's right. Mommy came out and you cried, and Mommy took you and gave you some milk, and you were all better. And I guess another great memory is after Robin and I got married, everybody came back here. All of our friends and everything came back here, and we had a great crab feast.
Yep.
And it was just many more memories than that, but
It's a life around the house, right?
yep.
So, Abby, do you have anything to say for the camera about the
Abby,
house?
What's your favorite part of this house? What do you like about this house?
I like when I get on the deck.
You like when you do what?
I get on the deck of me.
Oh, when you get on the deck, you like the deck?
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
who put that deck on? Pop Pop and Uncle Keith and Daddy.
And Nene?
And Nene helped a little bit, yeah. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I always say bye-bye.
Of course, this is the back of the shed here, and right there on this side here is where some of the bees lived at one point, and the beehives lived back here in behind the shed at one point, and then finally along the grapevines, and that's where they've stayed for a while. Don't know where they're going to stay now. We'll have to figure that out. Parents, the new house that only has a 1/4 acre, but we've got some offers from some people to keep the bees for us, my brother included.
Well, I moved into this old house as best I can remember when I was about 14 years old. We'd been living down in Gobins, and we moved up here just in time for me to go to Roland Park Junior High School, where I met Matt Fenton. We became great friends. In fact, went into the Air Force together. Nothing of note went on. We went through high school.
And where'd you go to high school?
We went to Baltimore Polytechnic High School and graduated in June of 1944. And in June of 1944, I ended up walking down the mile from this old house to the streetcar number 8, traveled down the streetcar to the 5th Regiment Armory, got on a truck and they took me to Fort Meade, and I was part of the Army. That just happened that quick. We did a little fooling around at Fort Meade for a couple of months, and we shipped down to Biloxi, Mississippi for basic. And there wasn't much that happened there that I recall. After basic, we managed to get a Christmas leave, And I remember coming from Mississippi up to Baltimore on the Silver Meteor train. Dad picked me up to the station where he was working at the time, and we came out to the old house, and I bawled. That old house had a way of embracing you. We had a wonderful time on the Christmas vacation. We had girlfriends, and we had a lot of parties. And the old house welcomed us. Subsequently, I went back down to the south and went on to Air Corps training. And then in about 1946, I came home again, and I got discharged from that. At that time, the United States Air Corps, and yet in that same year it became the Air Force. And I came once again on the Silver Meteor, and I came back to the old house, and this time I did not cry, because I was home. This old house saw a lot of action with us. Cousin Vernon came and lived with us a while. We had a lot of adventures. There have been tight times, good times. The old house put up with all of us. At that time, Mac Benton got discharged. We came home. Bob Lovett would join us. Vern would join us, and we would go out upon occasion. Vern was with us a couple of times with Bob Lovett when Bob's father worked in Washington, D.C. as Attorney General of the United States, assistant. And we met Bob Lovett down there, as did I, because I was on the Maryland campus. And we came back here for a long time. Vern and I worked on the invention in this old house garage, the single-bladed automatic variable pitch propeller. I'll never forget that. It was a fine piece of equipment. It was for model airplanes. Instead of 2 blades or 3 blades or 4 blades, it had 1 blade, and we had a lump of lead on the other side of the shaft, the balance of the propeller. And it was affixed with about a 38 or 45 degree pin so that it would allow the blade to twist on that axis to change the pitch as you would require it from the engine. And if you ran the engine quick, you go to flat pitch, you take a short bite to take off, then you throttle back and run your engine more slowly, and you take a big bite and you go fast with the smallest amount of rotation. And we made a lot of samples on this, and John Waugh and Vern. John was a friend of Vern's, so they were both working at Bartlett Hayward at that time, the aerobatic propeller division. And they took the thing on the road. I was still in college then. And they broke the East Coast, West Coast, and Central divisions of speed for model airplanes with that variable propeller, which was a big hit. Oh, we did some of the first work on that. We needed a wind tunnel. And I guess only youth is that brash, but I was a sophomore at that time. I was coming home on weekends so we could work on this thing. This old house, thought it was a carpenter shop sometimes, carving maple, drill press was running. But I went to the dean of the College of Engineering and I said, "Can we buy time on your wind tunnel?" He said, "It doesn't work." I said, "If I fix it, can I use it?" He said, "Yes," and that was the end of it. Things were simpler in those days. Didn't have to worry about contract, which we did.
Well, tell me about how you used to get down to Maryland, to College Park. You used to told me you used to.
Transportation.
Yeah.
Oh well, I was worked in the summertime for American Ant Company. I bought a 1936 Chevrolet from a guy that was head of the taking care of the automotive fleets.
Oh, I remember a.
And it was so bad that we had to weld the back door shut because it was so rusted they wouldn't latch. The headlights were like 2 candles.
I remember you telling me though another form of transportation down to Maryland every once in a while. You used to fly down, didn't you?
Well, I never broadcasted that too much. I didn't realize I'd spilled the beans on that. My roommate and fraternity brothers, lifelong friend, had a brother, and their home was up in Bel Air, up the other side of Bel Air. And he had a 1946 Porterfield parked in a pasture out there. And his brother was in the storm door and window business at that time, which was just getting popular. He was working out of Atlanta. Anyhow, we came home on one weekend, and I said, what if we could get that old plane started? So he brought me home here, and I gathered some tools out of that old garage, which is still out there. And we went up to Bel Air, and we looked up this airplane, and we fueled it up, cranked it over, and lo and behold, all the gasoline ran out of the carburetor. So we stopped where we were, and we drove around until we found a McCormick's tractor house. And we'd taken the other carburetor with us. We wanted to see if the tractor carburetor, if the tractor outlet would have a gasket that would fit the carburetor for the airplane. And we found one that we allowed we thought ought to work. So we put it on the carburetor, put the carburetor back to the plane, plugged it in, fueled it up, took it off. Took off and flew all over Bel Air with that, down over College Park and back up again. Neither one of us had an airplane license ticket, so that was something that the less said about wasn't one of my prouder moments.
I assume a couple of F-16s didn't escort you out of the no-fly zone.
No, we were flying so low nothing could find us.
Well, we're almost running out of tape, so wanted to get some thoughts from Aunt Eileen also.
Oh my, well Dave's known this dear old house for 65 years, and I've known it for 30. I first came here in July of 75 and met Dave's mother, Babe, the wonderful, irrepressible queen of the house. She was a delight. And when she passed on, your parents bought this house and renovated it, and it rang with the laughter of you and Keith and Don and Carolyn, and we just enjoyed this home so much. You made me feel so welcome and such a wonderful part of this family and its history and everything. I have such fond memories of being here, and I remember you were just a 5-year-old toddler, so it was absolutely grand.
No.
So-
Pop took it down. It's been gone that long.
What was in here?
Yeah, oak tree. Huge oak tree.
We took, what, 3 trees down? A Pop had 3 trees taken down?
About when?
I must have been in high school, junior high. Took this one down. There was I forget what the other oak tree was. Do you remember? Was there one right here?
I don't think so.
You know, there's one down the bottom of the yard. We used to swing on it. Took that down. That died because of it. And down here, Eric, was a maple tree.
Well, I remember that maple tree.
And your
That had
uncle,
had that hollow trunk.
Yeah, your uncle used to swing on it from branch to branch. Remember when you were working with the Minutemen?
Yeah, but by that point we knew we were going in the Army, so we became Rangers. We were Rangers. We'd climb up on this old lean-to shed, come run across that, jump off, run down there and jump up on the chicken coop, around the chicken coop, and then swing like monkeys up to the trees. I don't know why we didn't break our neck.
When we first moved here, there was a shed attached to the garage. You could put a car in. Remember that, David?
Sort of a lean-to.
Yeah, and it leaned too.
It's a lean-to.
And eventually, we would climb up there because Pop had a radio antenna that went from there over to this room, so he could listen to long-range radio.
Yeah.
And finally, one day, unbeknownst to us, mysteriously, it collapsed.
The shed.
Yeah,
I didn't remember that.
you were away.
I was away.
Pop pushed it over.
Where were you away?
In the army, I guess. Yeah, airport.
Doing what? Doing what? What were you doing in the Army?
Oh, doing army stuff. I was in the Air Corps.
Like what year?
1944. Yeah, 44.
Yeah.
Came back about 46.
Over my left shoulder, where the asparagus is, used to be the chicken coop. We had chickens
And rats.
and rats.
It was great sport to take a 22 down at nighttime with a flashlight and shoot rats. And shoot holes in the mash feeder.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Catch up for that.
That's when my father found out I was smoking because I stupidly put a pack of cigarettes in the mash feed.
We had a lot of chickens. We ate a lot of chickens and we got a lot of eggs.
Yeah, Saturday, Sunday morning, cured chicken and drain it off. Used to be a pear tree right there, Eric.
Yeah. Sickle pear.
Sickle pear.
This is the pear part of it.
And we would cut the head off and drain it from the tree. And then dip it in hot water and take all the feathers off, and Mother would cook it. Sometimes you had to stew it because it was so tough. Another thing down here. We used to have a dog yard right here. Yeah. That's where we kept the beagles.
I remember that because we used to. Toby, the first Toby, was there.
And then down in this area on the other side of the two apple trees was a, what was that, David?
There was a big tall tree right here that was quince.
Quince, yes. And there was another one down there was persimmon. We had a persimmon tree.
Persimmons were down there. Persimmon tree and a quince tree.
But what was that building they had right down there?
Oh, I don't remember the building. I remember the cesspool down there.
Oh yeah, did you get a picture of the cesspool, Cal?
Yeah, we'll go down there.
It's not there anymore.
Yes, it is. And we'll walk down, visit the cesspool. Now this tree right over here is going.
The one on the right
The one on the right
with
is one of
the
the
split
first,
one. Yep.
It's one of the first trees that your grandfather planted. And out of Sentimental Street, I haven't taken it down.
And I can see that it's mostly hollowed out.
Yeah.
And just really the bark holding it up. But it's still got a lot of fruit on it. It should produce quite a bit of apples this August, September.
We have to use a scythe to cut the weeds which are up here. And this lawn is nothing more than scything it down and eventually using sickles on it. And then finally a push lawnmower.
Just because this is all weeds back here, right? Just
That's
all
right.
overgrown
All
bush
weeds.
and weeds.
And
They
then
just
when
kept
we
mowing.
Then when we went in the Army, Dad decided to get a riding lawnmower because he didn't have anybody to swing his scythe or his sickle swing anymore.
Well, that sounds familiar. I rode a a 20-year-old, probably 20-year-old when we bought it. No, not that old, but old wheel horse. And then as soon as Keith and I moved out, you got the brand new John Deere with the hydrostatic transmission and the nice seat and everything, cup holder and everything. But this area was the. Now, who lived at 709 when you guys moved here?
Jimmy Waters.
And then when we moved in originally, it was the Hansons. And then it was Deb and Tom Dalton. And they spent, like I said, about 5 years. This whole back area was overgrown with weeds and once or twice some marijuana that we found, but just weeds and everything. And they spent about 5 years clearing it out with just cutting down the weeds, and it would grow back up and cut them down again and grow back up. And so this whole area was nothing but weeds and everything, and just got cut down and sown in, and now it's all nice grass and orchard and houses one day.
It's time to say goodbye to it.
Well, let's go down and visit the cesspool.
Well, this is the final resting place of Florence Hunt Benfer, right?
Yes.
No, I think she's buried somewhere else.
My mother always said, just put me in the cesspool. So we did. Cesspool was man's first attempt to have a sanitation
system.
Sanitation system.
Finally, the county made us join the city sewer system, and this went to was no longer used. Sort of went to pot.
Yeah. Well, you can see the bricks and cinder blocks around the side, and oh my gosh, this thing has been filled in a lot of times. And now, when I used to mow back here,
over 100 years old.
When I used to mow back here, this was grass all the way back to here, and it wasn't overgrown like this. Now I guess the grass line has creeped up, or the overgrown bush has creeped up to about here. So we don't have to avoid the cesspool anymore when we mow. We used to have to avoid the cesspool. Of course, at one point we had it just covered over with dirt, and of course it's sunk in since then. Yeah, that's where Dad always told me he buried Nene. Now I think she's buried up in Marysville, isn't she?
Yeah. She's buried in Marysville, Pennsylvania, along with Pop.
This is a plum tree. If you look closer, you can see all the small plums on it.
Yeah, sure can.
But they never ripen and become fruit.
Why, the bugs get them? I have no idea. Must be something sick, because it looks healthy now. Worms.
Yeah.
Uncle David, did Pop have bees here when you were living here?
No, I don't think you did.
Okay.
Bees? No.
He had all the trees, all the fruit trees, right?
I had more fruit trees.
Yeah. Oh, I think we had another row
And the grapevine,
along here.
grapevine all the way down there, kind of where it is now, and it also turned the corner and went down the other way. And we had dates. Was it dates?
There's figs.
Figs.
There was a big fig
Figs.
plant
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
That was here when I was here. I remember. And elderberries over where the orange flowers are right now. I don't know what those orange flowers are. Dad, where did Pop have the bees initially?
Same thing.
Same
Right
place?
along in here.
Okay.
We got the first swarm of bees off the steam pipe on top of the railroad. That's Penn Station. And we've had bees more or less ever since.
That's where they started from.
Yeah.
Who got them off the stack?
Your
bee man?
No, we did.
You did.
I came home from high school one day and Pop was home. He says, get in the car. And you never bother asking him why, you just did.
No.
And we went down, climbed out the window at the station, walked across top of the waiting thing, and there was a steam pipe which was used for heating the waiting area, and just swept the bees off and brought them home.
Down on Pennsylvania Station, right?
Pennsylvania Station.
Or
sure.
Penn Station.
Penn Station.
Yeah. Down on Charles Street in Baltimore. And for a while, we had the bees back behind the garage where the old dog yard was.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember having them there. Where else have we had them? Just along the grapevine and back there, I think.
Yes.
Those are the only two places.
Not many people have a garage that has a brick chimney. Yeah.
Well, here's the beech tree that I used to climb when I was little. I figured I'd had a. I'll zoom in here. We had a tire swing where this swing is, and I would climb up the tire swing onto the branch there, and just from there, just work my way all the way up, and end up being higher than the house was. And Mom always told me she dealt with it by not watching me. She said she couldn't bear to watch me, and of course I think I would always call down to her mom to have her look at me when I was so high.
Well, now I did the same thing, but the tree wasn't as
Tree
high.
wasn't near. Well, the tree's a lot higher than it was when I was little too.
Yeah.
I think it's another 10 feet higher than the house. I remember the very top, or at least the very top that I could reach, and I could get up pretty high in the tree, was about even with the peak of the house, and now it's about, oh my gosh,
Good 30, 40.
I'd say 20 feet higher than that. But it's big. It's really, really big now.
Big sweet tree.
And you were talking about the cherry trees.
Oh, yeah. We had one cherry tree, which was down the corner. And the rest of these are all sour cherries for pies. And they make good pies.
And I remember,
jam. Let's go make a pie, Don.
and I remember down along here, not this tree. I don't think this is the tree, but there's another tree right along here. Was a white cherry.
Yes.
And or yellow cherry, and it was sweet. And then there was another one up along here, and I remember mowing the lawn and stopping and grabbing cherries and popping cherries, eating cherries when I was mowing the lawn.
We had a lot of these dwarf trees in here.
Yeah.
Which was a good idea because
We had 32 of them at one time.
you can't handle trees when they get 20, 30, 40 feet high. It's nice to have dwarf fruit.
So, of course, we noticed the garage has a chimney to it. And, why is there a chimney on it?
That was so long ago. What do you think? This ground is over 100 years old. This building.
About 115.
Yeah, in there somewhere. Because it was 50 years old when we moved in.
Yeah.
At least I was told that. I think they may have had a number of uses. If they had a chimney there, they had to have either a hearth or a fireplace. They wanted that building heated for some reason. It's not old enough for that to have been the place where you did your cooking. That's back in George Washington days. But they wanted heat in that thing, or they wouldn't have gone all the trouble to do it.
Maybe a stable in there, you think?
Could have been a workshop.
Just don't know. It was just there when we moved in, and we didn't know the people that lived there before. At least I didn't. I don't think it was occupied.
I don't remember. I do have a couple of pictures upstairs just to show the property as it was when we moved into it.
Where'd you put all the clippings and stuff and all the stuff that you tore down? Did you
Down the
throw it
cesspool.
down the cesspool and down and did you do what we used to do? Yeah, we used to when we would trim the trees and things like that, we'd dump them on this brush pile down along here. Yeah, the brush pile. Now, of course, when I grew up here, the brush pile separated us from the apartments back here. And I imagine it was something different when you guys were growing up.
Well, the apartments weren't there, but the brush pile.
So what was beyond the brush pile, though?
Woods.
Field.
Yeah, a field. And then the woods was down this way.
Yeah, and the field ran on up and over the hill.
And then on top of beyond that was Grace Lunch's apple orchard.
And up there somewhere is where the fox lived. Right.
Yeah. If you look down here and you see this pile of leaves,
That was our leaf pile. And that is 60, 70 years old. There'll be a lot of good soil in there. That's
There
mulch.
is.
That's mulch now. I'd like to get in there with a backhoe. See that old horseshoe there? I have no idea whether that's one of my old ones, but Jack Robinson and I staked down in that corner, and we had a horseshoe throw in place.
Well, we had our horseshoe throwing was down on the other side of the grapevine here, over here to
Better place.
here.
That wasn't trimmed down at this point.
Well, better place except that you had the beehives here too, so you just had to, careful to watch yourself that way.
When the bees came in, I didn't visit the backyard after that. I could drive down from Harrisburg and pull in the driveway, get out of the car, and there'd be a bee on my collar. Just that quick. I don't know what it was.
They just didn't like it.
Maybe I smell like honey. I don't
Well, that's the problem. They liked them too much.
I hated those damn bees. I remember in modern times where you and Keith and Don and I would stand around here somewhere. There used to be a nice pool down there. and the game was to take a pitching wedge and see who could get a ball in the pool first.
Well, that was that was the apartment's pool,
Yeah.
which is down on that green pad, which could that could be a nice putting green down there.
Yeah. The apartment pool was very interesting. It was a nice pool, and mother could never understand, well, why do they have that pool only for the apartment people? I think I ought to be able to swing there. And we said, Mother, drop it. She didn't drop it. She went down there and talked to the management, and she's the one that got this house permission to play in that pool.
Yep.
The time they wanted to.
And we had that
Our mother was quite an arguer.
we had that up until about, I guess, 1980.
Is that right?
And because I remember swimming in there when I was little, and even when it wasn't. And then I guess after 1980 we joined Wiltondale Swim Club, which is a couple miles up the road. But even after that, we always made sure to go down and make friends with the lifeguard, so we could swim in the pool.
There you go.
But then, I guess around 95 or so, they, I guess just the insurance wouldn't let them keep it for the pool, and they dug up. There was a cinder block pool house.
Yeah,
They
that's right.
they piled the cinder block pool house into the pool, and then piled anything else they could find into the pool. And that was all she wrote for the pool.
Oh my.
Well, these two posts down here in between the grapevines. Uncle Dave, do you remember my funnelator?
Oh yes.
My giant slingshot?
Yes.
Well, we used to it was a 3-man slingshot, so two people held the ends, and then one person was in the middle and
Big length
had
of
a
surgical rubber.
surgical tubing, yep.
Yeah.
And whatever we could find, apple, orange, water balloon, golf balls, whatever we could find, and we would try to launch them into the pool, of course, because that was the easiest target. And if you only had one person, you could hook it up to these two posts and you had to kind of curve it, but you could. And of course, this cherry tree wasn't nearly as big, or it may not even been there. I'm not sure, but you could launch into the pool, all kinds of good stuff. Then of course, now we have played croquet over on this side.
Yeah. It was tough.
I remember. Well,
I used to have.
there was a further along. There was a little bit little past where we're seeing it's a little bit flatter.
Yeah.
I remember we used to have Allied Capital come up here, my employer.
Yeah.
We had a much bigger garden here years ago, and our grandfather, mother's father, lived with us here for some time, and he took over weeding that garden. He must have been 80 when he was here. He died in the house, by the way. But that would have everything planted in rows, and he took one of our sleds, snow sleds, and he'd sit that down. He'd sit on that. And boy, every weed that was in there went out. And he'd just slip along on that, stay out there in that sun all day and do that. He was quite a man.
Well, then of course, Richard Ackler, when we moved in, he was the He was the sharecropper.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And he lived across the street, and they came over and they tended the garden because their backyard got no sun.
Yeah.
So this this has plenty of sun all day
Some
long.
great food came out of
Oh yeah.
down there.
Oh yeah. I remember the Acklers would, Dick Ackler would always come up and drop off a bunch of vegetables on the stoop and.
Well, I think we just got a wigwag for the ladies.
Yeah, time to eat dinner. Time to eat Father's Day dinner. So I just want to hear some memories you have about the house.
Well, Don, why don't you start? You've lived here longer than I have.
Well, when we moved here, it was a coal-fired heating system. We filled it with coal, and we had a big coal bin. And the fun thing for us to do was to help push the coal into the coal bin for the coal truck. Of course, we'd have to come out and take a bath right away because it would be nothing but coal dust. Then we had to take the ashes out, and for many, many years, Baltimore County had an ash collection day. And we'd take the ashes out, and they'd come around and collect them. Or inside the house, we used to throw the ashes down there.
Now I remember seeing a set of initials on the coal bin in the basement when I first moved in.
DB.
DB, DB, 3 times over.
Yeah.
Who do you suspect wrote DB, DB, DB?
Probably David.
Oh, okay. Blame it on your oldest brother, huh?
Blame it on my oldest brother. What we would do is get the pokers red hot, and then burn our initials into the coal bin.
Ah.
The boards on the coal bin. I remember falling out of that maple tree in the bottom of the yard several times. Gee, there's so many memories, I can't think of any.
Well, we certainly talked about a lot of memories on some other sections of the tape.
Yeah, that's true too.
Mom, what were your thoughts when the first time you came here and the first time you saw this house?
Okay, that was in 1961. I had just met your father, about 2 or 3 weeks before, and we came one day for dinner. It's Sunday dinner, and your grandmother was in the kitchen cooking, and she was very warm and sweet and welcoming, and I guess that, colored my whole impression of the house because of your Nene. She was so sweet, and we had many dinners here, both before we were married and after we were married. And your grandfather, Wilbur, or Ben, always wanted to know if we had enough to eat. He always said to me, "Now, did you have enough meat? Did you have enough to eat?" And they were both always very kind to me, and they felt as though I felt as though they were my parents. And when we moved here, somebody said, "Well, won't it make you feel funny living in your in-laws' house?" And I said, "No, because I feel as though they're here too." And I think they would understand why we have to move, because they would say, as your Uncle Dick said, "Go for it." There were woods back in the back when we first moved here. I mean, not when we first moved here, but when I first knew Dad.
And then, of course, there was always loud Walker Avenue.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, when I grew up around here, Walker Avenue wasn't that long. It was a chip and tar road, about half the size of this one. And you got into the city and it was a concrete road, but the traffic was very light. Because Walker Avenue did not go all the way through to Loch Raven. It stopped at Idlewild. When I grew up here, first came here, There was no houses across the street. There was no houses down to my left, and the apartments were not there. And we would all play out in the woods. We had swings in the woods, rope swings. You'd swing out over and come back.
So Dad, where did all these people live before that?
I don't know.
Well, the Warrens were across the street and the Stricklands were across the street. But these other houses weren't built yet.
The people I played with were in Overbrook, next road over. But we had an old barn down here and a nice slope that we could sled on in the wintertime. Down the slope, across the stream bed, and you walked yourself back up. We had a board about 36 inches wide, and many a time my mother said she would see me walking up the road half frozen because I missed the board and went into the stream.
But my best memories here are when you boys were growing up. And you used to have all your friends down there playing football and baseball. You could actually play baseball and not hit a window. And I just, I'll always remember that. That was lots of fun.
Many years ago, yes. But things have changed. Walker Avenue is now a heavily traveled street. We now have houses and apartments behind us. We tried to continue like we originally were, but it's just getting to be too much, and we're getting too old to continue to maintain a large piece of property.
Well, Mom, what do you think is your favorite memory from recent history? And recent history, I mean, AC, after children, when you moved back in here.
Oh, well, we moved back here when you were 6 and Keith was 9.
Mm-hmm.
And so, do you mean during that time?
Uh huh. From then until we moved out, or until today.
My favorite memories are lots of entertaining here, and always having people here for cookouts and crab feasts, and you and your brothers would always have your friends here. I think you always felt that they were welcome here. And now it's so nice to have Abby and Charlotte here too. And just a day like today when the whole family's here, almost the whole family's here. Uncle Dick and Aunt Janine aren't here, and we wish they were here. So if they see this video, hi Uncle Dick, hi Aunt Janine. And just family memories are my favorite memories here. Plus the dogs and cats buried down in the burial yard.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do one of these days when they dig up the ground, find all these bones around. We'll probably have Baltimore County down here, Sheriff's Department, wanting to take the bones and analyze what they are. I hope they don't find your grandmother where we buried her. But some of my fondest memories, I like it when we take the hunting. There the whole family gets together, and my cousin's children, and my cousins,
and your brothers,
and my brothers would all come down, and we would work together to harvest the honey. And then normally on the next day or that evening, we would have crabs. And it topped off a very nice weekend.
But again, my favorite memories are the whole family and you guys, you and Keith and Amy, and everybody just living here and having a good time together. So here comes somebody backing into the yard.
That's Keith.
Your brother's going to try to run you over.
No big surprise there.
I think that means he's getting ready to go.
Yeah.
So, goodbye, Walker Avenue. We'll always.
And there's Keith, the police officer. Of course, that reminds me of one Thanksgiving, him coming up in his in his patrol car, and in his Baltimore City patrol car,
Lights
and picking up lots of pies. Hey Keith.
Pies and turkey sandwiches.
Yeah, Keith.
Your grandmother Ramsey and I rushed and made lots of turkey sandwiches.
Well, I think I got about as much of Keith on tape as I was going to. I actually managed to get him to say a few words.
He was a strong, silent type.
Bye-bye.
Bye.